Welcome to DIYEasyCrafts.com. How to make easy, do-it-yourself, single-color decals using your Silhouette Cameo cutting machine. Now in this video, we're going to show you making basically two different decals. Just basically running through the same process twice so that it sticks. The decals that we're going to make are made on a black vinyl. Now you can import almost any image as a JPEG. I created these images on a separate program called CorelDRAW, and then I just exported them. I gave them a file name that I could find, and I exported them as a JPEG. That's what I'm doing here. So I chose the first image, I gave it a name, I'm exporting it. Then I'm going to go to another page on CorelDRAW. I've already created this image, and I'm going to highlight what I want to export, give it a name, and then export it as a JPEG. But you could search the web. You just look for black clip art under any category, and you can come up with hundreds of different designs that you could just copy and import. You could also create these images on the Cameo software, but that's a different tutorial. Anyway, I have now saved two of these images that I want to create into decals. I went to my library under the file, under the Cameo program, and I'm just going to go find those files on my computer. I use the Finder feature on the Apple, and then I'm going to drag and drop both of those images right into my library, into the Cameo library. So once they are there, they're very easy to access. All you have to do is double click on one and it opens you right up into a page. You then have the ability to move that image around. You can resize it by taking the corner box and moving it in. That will make it smaller or larger. But before we do that, we're going to what I like to do is make the image as large as possible, because we're going to have the Cameo software trace this JPEG, the dark portions of this JPEG. So you're going to go up into the upper right trace box, and then you're going to highlight the area that you want to have traced. Once that's done, you're going to increase the value so the entire image that you want traced becomes a solid yellow. You can see in this particular one, I couldn't get that solid yellow without also highlighting the corners of the gray. Then I'm going to take the original image, drag it out, and I can use this scissor to cut that and get rid of it. Those additional corners that are red, you see those red lines in each corner? I'm going to use the erase tool just to erase each one of those lines. Those would all end up being cut lines, and you don't want that. So just erase it. Once it's erased, it does take a minute to process. Then in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you can hit the arrow. I'm still waiting for it to process. Then you can highlight the entire image. You do have to take everything with you on this. You take the entire image. Don't want to just grab a portion of it. And then using the corner box, I can reduce it to the size that I want the final decal to be. And it will give me the measurements in inches right on the bottom of that decal. Now I'm going to move to the second decal. I double clicked on it. It dropped it right into onto that same page. I'm going to run through that same process very quickly. So I went into the trace feature. I'm highlighting the area that I want to trace, and then I'm going to increase the value so that the entire image, the black area, becomes yellow, so that I know I've got full coverage there. Once that's done, I actually then hit the trace button, which I think is the second one down right there. I drag away the original image. I can use the cut feature to get rid of that. This one doesn't have any additional cut lines on it. It's pretty good right as it is. I'm going to use the corner box to drag it down or reduce its size in scale. So I'm not going to, you could grab the side box and shrink it from left to right or from top to bottom, but your image would not be proportional. Once I've got this sized correctly, I'm going to also put this in the upper left-hand corner of the sheet, just so that I don't use all that much vinyl, when I cut this. And then I'm going to check my settings. So I want to make sure that the Cameo is set at vinyl, that my cutting knife is at 1, and the speed is at 5. Those are standard settings. I'm going to load a sheet of black vinyl into the Cameo machine. You do not have to use the backing board on vinyl. And then once the vinyl is set, I go back to the Cameo program and I basically just send it to the Cameo, upper right-hand corner. The Cameo will then start the process of cutting out each one of those logos. Now, one logo here is pretty simple. It does have a few sharp edges to it. The other one has some really small text. But note that this text was not created as a vector. It was not created in the Cameo file. It was actually traced as a JPEG. So you will have to weed this a little bit more than you would if you created the image in the Cameo software using text on the Cameo or fonts on the Cameo. When the printing is done, you just unload. If you look real close, you could see all the little cut lines. It's kind of hard on the black vinyl. So before I cut these out, I'm just gonna weed the 2 eyeballs on the peeper. You certainly don't have to do this now, but it just visually it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. When I cut out each one of these images. So the first step, you're gonna cut out each one of those images and just leave a little bit of vinyl around it. So now I've got 2 separate decals, and I've reduced the amount of vinyl around them. I'm then going to go and start to weed each one of those. And by weeding, I mean removing anything that's not going to end up being on your final decal. For this particular one, the peeper, I'm really just going to remove the background. I already removed the whites of the eyes, and now I'm really just going to remove the background. There are a couple of small thin lines, highlight lines, above the peeper, and I just used a razor knife to make sure that the edge of that vinyl didn't lift as I was pulling the vinyl away from the backing. This process does take a couple minutes. You just want to make sure that you don't lift anything off of that backing that you don't want lifted. Alright, so that's the finished decal. I'm going to now use a transfer film. And this is available at most art supply stores. I got this at Michael's. You basically just cut it to size. This is just a clear film, and we're going to apply this over the decal, and kind of rub it into place so that it really adheres to all of the black vinyl, with the goal being that when we remove this transfer film, all of that black vinyl will be adhered to it. I'll show you the whole process right here. So I'm just going to peel that transfer film and stick it face down to the black vinyl decal. And then you do want to rub this pretty firmly into place. You can use the back of a pen. If you had a credit card, you could just rub it with a credit card or a piece of wood. They make little tools for this, but basically you really just want to rub it pretty firmly so that each one of those small, especially the small pieces of vinyl, really adhere to that transfer film. I'm just going to cut the transfer film even with the backing paper so it's not sticking to anything. And I can set this aside for whenever I want to apply it now. It's basically finished, ready to be applied wherever you can apply it. It could be applied to a wall. It could be applied to a car window, or in the case I'm going to actually apply it right to the front of my Cameo printer. or cutting machine. I'm going to go to the second stencil. Now this one is the one with the JPEG traced text. So the weeding process is going to be a little bit more difficult. This particular font is pretty small, and I want to make sure each one of those letters stays on the backing as I peel the vinyl, or as I weed the background vinyl away from this logo. So I'm not just ripping this off, I'm carefully looking at it as I roll it off. And any letter or any piece of vinyl that kind of sticks and wants to lift up with that background vinyl, I just use a razor knife to kind of hold it down. So I've got the background away. I've still got to weed the center of each letter, you know, the A's and the E's, etc., and just get rid of any of those little pieces that you don't want on the finished product. It only takes a couple of minutes. So this is now completely weeded. We're going to do the exact same process again. So I'm going to go to the clear transfer film. I kind of bow that transfer film so that you start at the center and work your way out to either side. It just goes on easier that way, and less chances of creating a bubble. So I'm going to press all of those little letters into the transfer film. I'm just going to cut away the excess material and that transfer film so that it's even with the backing paper, so it's not sticking, and then I can set that aside for when I want to apply it. Now the application process is pretty easy. All I'm going to basically do is peel away the backing from the vinyl, the original backing from the vinyl, so that that decal is now completely on the transfer film. And what's nice about that is with the clear film you can really see exactly where you want to place it before you touch it down. So in this case I'm going to apply it right to the front of my Cameo. And just carefully place it where you want it. Press firmly, and then you're just going to peel away that transfer film. And that will reveal the finished product in position. Really is a very simple process. These single color decals are really pretty easy to do, and the end result is really dynamic. You can get very creative with the design. You can incorporate the background color of wherever it is that you're going to apply it to, and you can come up with some really cool designs just, searching the web. So this is a logo for DIY-EasyCrafts.com. I'm going to also apply this to the front of the Cameo machine. Just going to line it up as best as possible. I'm going to bow it just like I did before, so that you kind of apply it from the center outward. Once it's down, just rub it firmly, get rid of any little bubbles or any little creases, and then lift off the transfer film. It really is as easy as that. Please check us out on the web at DIY-EasyCrafts.com. Be sure to check out our other how-to projects. And if you like this video, I ask that you please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you.